Hi, I'm Jack Kohler from Oakland Parks and Rec and Youth Development. Today we will be learning how to do the perfect grilled cheese. This is the third video in a course that I'm doing on basic cooking skills. Let's go. The stuff you will need to make the perfect grilled cheese is olive oil, butter, right in here, obviously bread. Any type of bread is good. I prefer sourdough, but that is my personal preference. Any type of cheese, I'm using provolone and cheddar today, preferably shredded or in a square or circle. You're going to need a knife, and you will need a pan to make the grilled cheese. First thing you want to do is you want to take your butter and grab a generous amount, a lot of it, and you want to spread it on one side of the bread so that it's all nice and covered, and the holes in the bread are almost completely filled with butter, as you can see, something like this. And you do that to both pieces of bread, but just one side. And if your butter is not as soft as mine is, where it's easy to cut, I suggest putting it in the refrigerator or in the microwave for 10 seconds, maybe, just to soften it up a little bit, to make it a little bit easier to use. And that. Alright, so now that we've buttered up our bread, it's time for us to go onto the pan. Okay, when we get to the pan, you want to be very careful because it is hot and it can spray on all the oil, and the butter can spray on you, and you don't want that to happen. That does not feel good. But so when you get to the pan, you want to turn it on, and you want to put it on medium heat, as you can see right here. And you want to heat up the pan just a little bit, and you want to take your olive oil right here and just sprinkle just a tiny bit, just super little, like that. That's the most. It's a little too much, but that'll do. About a teaspoon. And you want to just spread it around the pan by moving your wrist back and forth, right? And you can see it doesn't cover all of it, but that's okay. Then you want to take after that gets nice and hot, which you can see by bubbling and stuff on the oil, you want to take your 2 pieces of bread with the butter side down, and you want to put one and one right there, and you sort of just want to make sure that the whole entire side is on the pan, and you want to leave it there for a little while until it gets nice and warm and toasted. Yeah, and I suggest getting a spatula to flip it. You can also use a fork if you're experienced, or you can use your hands. Anything works, but I like using a spatula. And so as you can see, there's these little bubbles right here on the bread, near the bread. That's how you know that it's getting nice and toasted. That is the butter making it nice and brown on the outside. Now once you get it to this point, you want to put your slices of provolone and your slices of cheddar, or any other cheese, onto the bread. One piece of bread, just one piece of bread, and you just want to put it right on top. You don't want to take the other piece of bread and put it on top yet, because you want both of them toasted. And as so. Now if it's too hot for you to do this, you can always put it on a lower heat. I suggest using medium heat just because it goes faster and it doesn't burn the bread. Now let's check on the sides. As you see, it's not quite there yet. Ooh, I just burned myself. As you can see, it's not there yet, but it's getting there. If it's nice and yellow, that's good. At this point, I usually put it a little bit lower than medium heat so that it gives the cheese a little bit more time to melt and be nice, and it also gives the bread a little bit more time to brown and become a nice solid brown color. As you can see, there's some droplets of oil coming off because of the cheese over on this corner right here on the pan. And let's see here. Now this usually takes, browning and melting of the cheese usually takes about 5 minutes tops, depending on when what heat you put it on. But if it's on medium heat, it usually takes about 5-10 minutes. Let's check our bread now. As you can see, it's a little bit more brown than it was before. You can continue putting it on if you like it more brown. I like it a little bit more brown. And if the piece of bread that has the cheese on it is already brown, you can scoot under with your spatula and take it and flip your wrist to the right and onto the other piece, as so. It might take a little while to just have on, to put on completely, but that is just more skills with your hands. You can also use a knife, which we can use right now, right here, and just scoot it on. So, yes, and this is when you sort of just want to wait until the bottom of the bread gets nice and brown, gets nice and toasty. As this part, if you want to, you can put a little bit more butter on the parts that hadn't gotten brown yet, but that all can be your preference of what you want. Let's see the bottom right now. See, it's a little bit more white. You can continue flipping it, or if you want to take it off right now, you can. Like I said before, it's all your preference. I'm gonna put the heat up a little bit just to let it brown faster. As you can see, it's sizzling a little bit. Sizzling a little bit because of the cheese coming down onto the pan. This is good. You just don't want your cheese to burn very much. You want it to get just nice and melted. And every couple minutes, you want to check how it is going. You don't have to completely flip it over, but you can see right there, it's looking really nice. And for me, I'm gonna flip it over again. Be careful, it is hot if you adjust the heat. See, look here. And you always want a plate to put it onto afterward, which is always really nice. I like it like this. If you want it a little bit more brown, you can. I suggest putting it on a lower heat if you want it more brown. But that's just me. But I like it brown like this. You want to put it on a plate. And some people, with certain types of bread, you want to cut it from side to side. With sourdough, you don't really want to do that because it sort of just looks like a big oval and it doesn't look very satisfying. So with sourdough, I just cut it down through the middle. It can be with a bread knife, with any knife you want. Continue cutting it down the middle. And as you see, it's all nice and melted on the insides over here with the provolone and the cheddar.